New religious movements, in the most basic sense, can be understood as any new faith that has arisen worldwide over the past several centuries. However, the title possesses far more complexity, with both elements of the term new and religious both posing some difficulties in regards to a fully coherent and all-encompassing definition, with terminological problems arising surrounding the question of whether, if any social phenomenon can ever be completely new, with further difficulties present, with many of the movements in question resisting being called a religion, preferring to be viewed as a spiritual or educational movement instead. Professor of Sociology Eileen Baker and chairperson and founder of the Information Network focus on religious movements suggests that whilst there may be shared characteristics that help unify these groups, such as a charismatic leader and first-generation converts, it is, however, essentially absurd to categorise them all within the term new religious movements, possessing an overall view that new religious movements are something which cannot be generalised about.
If you find that a movement is first generation, there are certain characteristics that follow. For example, almost by definition, there'll be converts, and converts tend to be far more enthusiastic than people who have been born into a religion, sometimes even fanatic. They tend to be disproportional, atypical of the population as a whole. Often in the past, they've appealed to the oppressed. The present wave of new religions that appeared in the 1970s, they didn't appeal to the oppressed. They appealed to middle-class young people, average age about 23. Now, of course, you can't generalize because that's the one thing you can say about new religions. You can't generalize about them. But they often have a charismatic leader. They're often attacked by society. They change far more radically and far more rapidly than older religious movements.
However, despite the contentious nature of the definition of new religious movements, Roy Wallace put forward a classification system of the movements based on their attitude and relationship with the greater world. These being world-affirming new religious movements, which act to provide its members with spiritual enrichment, where members are not expected to isolate themselves from wider society. Instead, their followers intend to enrich their spirituality and reach fulfillment. World-accommodating new religious movements, which neither affirm or reject the world, but adapt in order to maintain a peaceful life within it. And lastly, world-rejecting new religious movements, which view the world as inherently corrupt and evil, such as apocalyptic cults. When on the topic of new religious movements, the 1960s is a time period which possessed particular significance, due to the new movements of the 1960s known collectively as the counterculture, viewed as the basis for a new type of social cultural system which deviated from social norms, embodied typically in hippie communes, which was replaced by the 1980s by the New Age movement, which included a variety of social movements and cults, all which developed from the foundation of counterculture.
16 years ago, Charles Manson was sentenced to die in San Quentin's gas chamber for the Tate LaBianca murders. Within a year, Californians did away with capital punishment, so Manson's sentence was commuted to life in prison. Now there's a book.
Although arguably a less influential force within contemporary society, religion has historically been a pillar of social life, influencing the social consciousness and shaping people's worldviews and opinions. Thus, new religious movements are transgressive by nature, and therefore are often attacked by society due to their different and deviant ideas from the socially established norm. One example of transgressive behaviour within new religious movements is present with what became known as the Manson family, where Manson's followers viewed him as an all-powerful, Messiah-like figure, and themselves members of a superior elite which possessed all the answers to the world's problems, committing murders and partaking in other deviant behaviour, such as the ritualised use of LSD.
What Manson had to say.
Charles Manson is serving his life sentence for murder in San Quentin prison. That is where we talked with him and with Newell Emmons, author of Charles Manson in his own words. Our conversation lasted an hour and a half, during which Manson was sometimes lucid, sometimes incoherent, and frequently manipulative.
Durkheim's ideas surrounding religion and its power as an integrative social force can evidently be seen in new religious movements. It is most likely to be questioned why people would choose to join these new religious movements or cults, and it could be argued that answers may be found in the desire for community, within a society which is witnessing an overall decline of community. For example, the People's Temple Agricultural Project, better known as the Jonestown Community, which was held up as a benevolent communist community with social cohesion developed through the new religious movement, which had an evident community-like feel, uniting its members. However, the community came to an end when the leader John Jones ordered the mass murder-suicide of more than 900 members of their commune before committing suicide then himself.
On the night of the 17th, it was still a vibrant community. I would never have imagined that 24 hours later they would all be dead.
Die with a degree of dignity. Don't lay down with tears and agony. It's nothing to death, it's just stepping over in another plane. Don't be this way.
A further idea of dark crimes surrounding religion, known as the collective conscience, can be seen within new religious movements. This is explicitly evident within the case of Heaven's Gate, where its members shared the same beliefs and ideas, prominently apparent within their exit statements before their mass suicide, where they believed that through drinking a lethal mixture and then laying down would help them leave their bodily containers, enter the alien spacecraft, and then pass through Heaven's Gate into a higher existence.
It came to them in the night sky. 1997 was the year of the Hale-Bopp comet. In late March of that year, as the comet grew brighter, Doe became convinced the comet was the sign to shed their bodies and exit Earth. Members taped farewell messages. No one appeared the least apprehensive.
This is Hudson. I mean, this is the answer to everything.
For them, exiting their vehicles, as they called it, meant graduation. They bought graduation outfits, black pants and shirts, each adorned with a Heaven's Gate patch.
Therefore, religion, new or old, is a highly influential social force over people's lives, with new religious movements, however, possessing an inherently transgressive quality.
The evolutionary level above human, synonymous with the kingdom of God, the kingdom of heaven. We're going to talk to you about the most urgent thing that is on our mind, and what we suspect is the most urgent thing on the minds of those who will connect with us. We'll title this tape Planet Earth About to be Recycled. Your only chance to evacuate is to leave with us.